pattern of 4 years of not meeting with constituents.
Thank you. Could you keep the microphone? I'd like to now go down the line and let the candidates introduce themselves before we go to other questions. Lourdes, and you might as well start. You've got the microphone.
And I'll stand. My name is Lourdes Ramirez. I'm running for Sarasota County Commission. And I wanted to run because I was concerned about the fact that it doesn't seem that the County Commission is listening to the people. And I believe it's time that we have people on the County Commission who really represents the citizens and not the developers. And I've seen it go worse and worse every year. And it's not that I'm anti-development, I'm not. I really think that development is good for Sarasota, but just not at any cost. And there's 3 costs to growth in Sarasota County. One is the financial cost. For all the new urban sprawl you're seeing, the truth is that those new urban developments do not pay their own way currently. They're not paying full impact fees. And also the fact that new development out east of I-75 cost us, the taxpayers, more than they bring in taxes. We subsidize development. So there's the financial cost of growth. And the second cost is the human cost, what we all experience, whether it's being stuck in traffic, flooding, all the things we're being, with all these new developments going in, that's really having a negative impact in our lives. And the last is the cost of our Sarasota brand. Sarasota has a good reputation. When you think about different places like Paris, you have a vision. Or if you think of Detroit, you have a different vision. Well, Sarasota has a good reputation. As a matter of fact, some people in Southern Manatee like to say that they're from Sarasota until you try to get them to vote for you. You say, well, really, I'm a Manatee. I can't vote for you. But they love the Sarasota address because of the reputation we have. But what I'm seeing is, with growth, is instead of growing our reputation, we're eroding our reputation. People are starting to know us as gridlock. So I'm really concerned about that. I really think we can grow, but we have to be smart. We've got to make sure development pays its own way. We've got to make sure we have the infrastructure in place, and we got to make sure it doesn't damage us, the existing homeowners in Sarasota County. So vote for me on August 28th, or let people know all about what's going on in Sarasota County, because I think, for grassroots candidates, we need to get the word out. Thank you.
Lourdes is running for District 4 candidate. And Al Mayo is also running for that. Now, next is Mike Cosentino, and he's running for District 2. 4, I'm sorry. I've reversed that, I apologize.
The 3 of us are all District 4 candidates. Wesley and I are running off in the Democratic primary. And Ms. Ramirez.
You hold your microphone like this.
Rock star.
I am not a rock star. And Lourdes is running against Al Mayo in that primary. And after that, I think I might vote for Lourdes. My name is Mike Cosentino, born and raised here in Sarasota, 1982, Riverview High graduate. Holy moly, I made a big mistake there. I've worked with Lourdes on siesta key issues for 10 years or better. She's done a phenomenal job for us out there. I'm the guy that, if you've seen any of the beach road stuff around town, the county voted to give $10 million worth of taxpayer property to a developer from Michigan so we could build a big condo and kick us all off the beach. And when I read about that in the paper, I did my research. I actually filed a lawsuit that's 2 years and countless hours and dollars into that at this point. And what I've pretty much realized is that you can't fix these things from the outside. You need to get your nose. The camel's nose needs to be in the tent. You have to be on the inside to fix these things. That's why I decided to run. I think that, actually, my father started Cosentino Construction in 1956. I've dealt with the last 4 building officials, zoning officials, the people in permitting, environmental permitting, and I think that everything in life kind of boils down to relationships. I've got relationships with the people, and I can tell you from meeting with these people, both with my lawsuit and as my regular course of business, that they want to do the right thing. The problem is our town is run by 3 law firms, more and more down in Venice, and the Arcard Merrill law firm and the Williams Parker law firm up here in Sarasota. They bring in all the money. They put the candidates in position. First, they put them onto the planning commission. If they prove an inability to follow the comprehensive plan and the rules long enough, then they're ready to run for the county commission. And that's kind of just how it goes. there's another builder like me, Mike Hawkins. He joined this race in February. The Republican Party basically said, no, you sit down. And so what we really need is exactly what Lourdes said. We need somebody that's going to just listen to the people and what they want, and someone that's willing to stand up. I've certainly stood up for the last couple of years, and I hope you decide to vote for me in August 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I guess I'll stand too. My name is Wesley Ann Beggs, and I filed to be your next Sarasota County Commissioner in District 4 because we deserve better representation. That's as simple as that. I am a native Floridian, I am a small business owner, but most importantly, I am a concerned citizen just like you, just like everyone in this room. And I too have been watching what's been going on in our county and see an overwhelming need for change. We're reaching a point of just a stagnation of developer thoughts. You know, when you look out at Sarasota, there's traffic congestion, there's no affordable housing, it's becoming this place of urban sprawl, and no one in this room wants that. That's not what we signed up for, and that's not what our future generations deserve. So a good, effective public servant has three things. They're accountable and attentive, they're bold, they're not afraid to try new ideas and see what sticks, and they're collaborative and willing to work with other people, and I believe I embody all of those characteristics. And we need someone with the time and energy that's going to put into listening and acting on those concerns. Just yesterday, I never let the borders of Sarasota County, and I spent 4 hours in the car driving around. I was down in Inglewood at 9:30 a.m. for their Hands Across the Water event. Then I went over to Northport for 4 hours of canvassing, which can be a few miles between tours sometimes. And then I was up in Newtown by 4 p.m. speaking with those constituents. So I'm making the effort, and I believe that we can turn this around. We have a real opportunity this year to go after someone with a voting record this time, and that's important. We have an opportunity here, but we need each and every one of you in this room, all of us candidates here, need each and every one of you to tell 5 people, start that conversation. Say, hey, did you know? Did you know that your county commission just approved that we're pushing this urban boundary further and further until we get to a point where we've just got an ocean of urban sprawl between us and the Atlantic? That's not what any of us want, and I am dedicated to stopping that and creating a future that is better for everyone in Sarasota County, not just the privileged few that can fill the coffers of these different candidates. So thank you. My name is Wesley Ann Beggs, and I'm going to roll with you. Vote for me August 28th.
This brings us to an issue. I'm going to follow a very different format for this forum than I do normally. I'm not going to do any lightning rounds. I'm going to try and have some dialogue where these candidates are given a very good chance to be able to clearly tell you the things they feel about a few subjects that CONA thinks is very important. And of course, one of them is the relationship between our commissioners and our citizens, which we've begun to touch on. The fact that there seems to be a disdain for the citizens and the voters, and their will is not being implemented through the board. There, in fact, is an initiative right now that our current county commission has initiated in order to stop the citizens from being able to effectively bring referenda to the ballot. CONA was very, very active in establishing referenda, and we put together 3 initiatives that went to the ballot that each time had supermajority votes. The hardening of the urban service boundary, the limitation of commissioners to 2 terms, and I'm not sure, I think it was the open lands for the 3rd one. And each time we garnered larger votes of the citizens. This is something that the current commissioners are frightened of. the voice of the citizens. Why? What's going on? Why do we have elected candidates who actually work against the people who have put them in office? Mr. Mayo is the subject of a letter that was written by one of the people who used to be one of his most or closest allies. I hope all of you have seen that letter. It's available on the internet, and it goes into the Nokomis area civic organizations, which I think has 18 different associations, if I remember correctly, that belong to it. It's like CONA, but it's for a region of the county. They, on their website, have posted information about their viewpoint of this commissioner who is supposedly representing them. You can access it on the internet, and you can access this letter. We don't have time to go into all of this in detail, but it's out there, and it's important for you to see that. I would like to ask one question of each candidate on this topic in order to finish it, and that is, what question do you think your missing opponent is avoiding?
I think that going back to what you were saying about the charter amendment process, I'm actually reading from this little flyer that I wrote, and I got a few things on it, but one of them says, "We the people. Our people are smart and creative. Let's make the charter amendment process less cumbersome and encourage our people to participate in solving and preventing problems in our community." What's interesting is I wrote that before the county had actually proposed this charter amendment change. Having worked with Reopen Beach Road, we have kind of got the largest grassroots support of any organization in Sarasota County history. We've got nearly 30,000 petitions signed to get 2 charter amendments on this November's ballot. One keeps Beach Road in public ownership and control like it has been for more than 100 years. The other protects every park, preserve, beach and water access in all of Sarasota County, and may be the most sweeping piece of environmental legislation this county's seen in 40 years. Again, before the county came up with this thing to double that standard, my idea is every county building should have a kiosk. Perhaps we should have a website where instead of having to have a wet ink signature to get a charter amendment passed, I can start a corporation with an e-signature online, but I have to have a wet ink signature just to prove my voice to allow a petition to get to ballot. Truly, if any of the 3 of us is fortunate enough to represent you as commissioner, more than likely we're going to be on the wrong end of a lot of 4-to-1 votes because they still have a big majority. I think that we can actually run this town through the charter amendment process if we facilitate voter education and participation as to the issues. If we had a kiosk where you could go in, look at all the charter amendments, click on the ones you like and just hit send, that would really enable us to take control of the county. They're not going to do it for us. It's going to literally take this election and the 2020 election before we even have a chance of turning this thing around. And I think the charter amendment process is the way that we, the people, can actually do what our founding fathers wanted.
Thank you. Lourdes, what question do you think your missing opponent is avoiding? The most important one.
I think the most important is who's financing your campaign. I took a peek at it as of May, and about 70% of the donations were from the land development industry, and I didn't even look what he's gotten recently. So I think that's one question you would want to talk about, how many developers. And then what they do is, was it Gabbard, the one who wants the celery field dump, gave him 9, 10, maximum level checks. He actually holds his campaign meeting at Gabbard's office. So I think those are the questions you want to avoid.
Wesley, the most important question you think your missing opponent is avoiding?
I think he's avoiding why. Just one word question. Why, despite such immense community outrage about all kinds of decisions, Siesta Promenade, Siesta Key setbacks, the Celery Fields industrial waste facility. Why? Despite busloads of people showing up and doing their civic duty and holding up their end of the civic bargain, why on earth are you so adamant to vote against their interests so often? And I think that's where it opens the door to the financial questions, I think, is the root of that. But why? Why do you keep doing it despite such outrage and the John Ask letter? And we were all just at the Nokomis Area Civic Association, which were instrumental in getting him elected the first time, and he didn't show up. And the only, why? He still hasn't answered that. Why didn't you show up? Why did you vote that way? Why did you take that check? Why do you keep doing what you're doing, despite the fact that so many of the people that you represent disagree strongly with what you're doing? Why?
If you'll pass that to Lourdes, I have one last question regarding that. Lourdes, you're being victimized right now by dirty, nasty campaigning. I'd like you to address that. I think at this point you're the only one that's suffering this at the moment in order to need to address it.
Yeah, there was a negative mailer that was sent out last week. Same thing they brought up from 4 years ago, old news, with this fake document on there, fake tax document on there, and then you look at the PAC that's supporting that negative mailer, and $10,000 came from vendors in development, and so you wonder, well, what's behind that? And it's just bringing up old news and trying to scare people. And it was a personal attack. So I think they just figure, well, I want to talk about issues. I do want to talk about why he voted the way he did. They go low. So that's what I sent out an email trying to explain it. But again, they also know that I only raised enough money to do one mailer, which did go out, and I can't respond to this because a mailer can cost thousands of dollars, and so they know I can't respond to this. So there's going to be a lot of people who read the negative mailer and think it's true. So that's the issue.
I'm going to switch to another topic. On Friday, 3 of us at this table attended a New College forum, and the topic was basically on saving archaeological sites in Florida. And the forum invited candidates in various offices for this election, both the primary and the general election, in order to discuss sea level rise and what I will call accelerated climate change, because all throughout the history of the Earth, climate changes. However, at the moment, it's an unnatural acceleration that we're experiencing, apparently, due to human behavior. And it began in 1850 with the Industrial Revolution. In the 1870s, the internal combustion engine was developed. In the 1880s, the automobile was patented. And from that point on, we have had the use of these kinds of engines in not only automobiles, but all kinds of businesses, and our technology has leaped into a sphere where we are polluting our own environment horribly. This became obvious to scientists by the 1940s and was being discussed. It wasn't really a popular topic, and it was only in scientific circles. By the 2017, there were projections in this state alone that came from the University of Miami that started talking about the profound changes that will come about in Florida due to sea level rise. And so I'd like to talk about the topics that were really discussed on Friday: strategies to adapt and to encourage reversal, preservation of our cultural assets. And our cultural assets are our environment, our historic structures, and our prehistoric sites. So if you'd like to start, Lourdes, with the discussion of your perspective on what you feel we need to do now in order to catch up in the process.
I think, hello? Okay, now, okay, sorry. It had to be on the right hand. I think it's a real concern. One of the things that we worry about is not only our beaches, right? We have the wonderful beaches, but we also have a lot of archaeological wonderful places here, like, War Mineral Springs, Little Salt Springs, and the Spanish Point. And if we continue to have flooding issues, and the flooding issues is not just because of rising sea levels. When you start to pave paradise here, where's the water going to go? So they're going to go to places where there is some green space or going towards the coast, and it's going to hurt some of the archaeological places we have along the way. So I am concerned. I think we really have to make sure that there's a lot of green space available so we can have drainage. And when we grow and we start putting developments together, it shouldn't be lot line to lot line concrete. And we need to be really smart about our ecology, because that's what's going to be important for us to really survive in the future and have a good quality of life. And that takes science, and it takes, logic. We know that if water has to go somewhere, why are we just putting in all of this concrete? So I'll be one that when we start talking about development, one of the biggest concerns I have, for instance, when the county starts talking about the 2050 plan, they're supposed to have 500-foot buffers, and then every time one of the developers come, oh no, we want 300-foot buffers. No, we want 50-foot buffers, and all of a sudden we just have more and more concrete, less and less green space. So I think we need to be smart and have more green space.
Okay. I remember. My dad.
Hold your microphone.
I'm trying my best here. My father came here in '48, and Bee Ridge Park on Wilkinson Road was the boondocks in those days. And when I graduated from Riverview High in 1982, I-75 was out in the boondocks. I don't even know that we have any boondocks anymore with the recent comprehensive plan change that's going to turn the High Hat Ranch into the next Lakewood Ranch. We're doggone near to the point of being built out. And I can remember my father thinking what a foolish move it was when we paid, I don't know, $20 million or something to buy the development rights of the Carlton tract 25 or 30 years ago. Now it's seeming like the most genius thing ever. Literally, our eastern boundaries are going to be built out to the point where there really aren't green spaces, that things that aren't already in public ownership and control. I spent the night in the bay about a month ago in my houseboat, and going out the canal on Siesta Key, I saw the first alligator in 30 years of going out that canal. When I woke up, I spent the night by the little bird islands just south of the North Siesta Bridge. I woke up the next morning, and there was an alligator by my boat, a half a mile from the North Siesta Bridge. And later that day, I was going through a couple islands across the bay, and there were 2 alligator gar there. I mean, I've been boating here for almost 50 years, and in a 24-hour period, I saw 4 different things that I've never seen in my life. When you overdevelop to the point where, and again, the Colonial Gables subdivision out Bee Ridge Road near the interstate, it was the overbuilding of all of that subdivision that led to the creation of the celery fields. We had massive flooding there in the record-setting December rains of 1992. That led to the creation of the celery fields. But as we push out more and more and more development, then we have to channel that water to prevent flooding. And so we're literally changing the salinity of our bays. That's why you see alligators out by the bridge. And so with respect to War Mineral Springs and our different archaeological sites, of course we have to fund that. We have to do whatever we can to protect those areas. But this development issue, and I know we keep hammering it, and we all have similar thoughts with respect to it, But that's where it all stems from. It stems to our lack of infrastructure, it stems to our lack of affordable housing. Everything is centered around the changes that we give to our comprehensive plan to promote what is an unsustainable level of development.
Thank you.
I think it's essential when we talk about sea level rise to really clarify what it is we're talking about. And I think for a lot of people, it's this very nebulous idea. It's very slow moving. It can be hard to spot. But to give you an idea of what we can expect and what we know we can expect here, we're looking at 6 to 8 inches in Sarasota County by 2030. So to give you a visualization of that, that nice new parking lot they put in and redesigned on Siesta Key by the South Bridge, at high tide that will be underwater. So if that's on our immediate horizon, by 2100 we're talking about 4 to 6 feet. Your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your nieces and nephews will be at the forefront of this issue for sure. And every day, week, and month we do nothing, it costs them greatly. And it costs us greatly. So for every dollar we spend on updating infrastructure to make our community more resilient to these rising sea levels, it saves us $7 down the line. So we need to take this out of